hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our DP Discover Thought Intelligence, the unknown prereq to emotional intelligence. My name is Matt Howard. I'm our HR supervisor here at Dominion Payroll. And before we begin, I do want to remind everyone that today's webinar will be recorded, and a copy of the recording will be sent following today's call, and along with the slides that are shared throughout the presentation as well. If you have any questions during today's presentation, please submit them in our questions chat, and we will address them as they come. Today, we are joined by Catherine Fry, founder and CEO of Marble Peak Consulting, to learn more about thought intelligence and why it's essential now more than ever. Welcome, Catherine.
Oh my gosh, Matt, thank you so much for having me. And for those of you who, thank you. And for those of you who've been on webinars before, you may not have met Laura. She's on the back end of things. She has been helping me prepare from the technical standpoint for, a couple days now, right, Matt? Matt's been involved. Yeah, so we're so happy to have you with us today. I'm so honored to be here. I have to show you guys something. So I actually sponsored an employment law webinar here in Colorado. I live near Aspen, if you're familiar with the resort community. And Dominion was, wanting to offer Sherman HRCI credits. And I was like, that's me. That's what I do for a living. I do workshops. I offer credits. I am an accredited provider through both SHRM and HRCI. So I partnered with Dominion. I actually did a little bit of a 20-minute fun, interactive, engaging session, if you will, during the middle of the employment law seminar. And next thing you know, we're talking about bringing me on to meet with you all and doing a workshop today. So I'm so thrilled to be here. Matt, Laura, thank you so much for having me. I'm absolutely delighted. So we're going to be doing things a little bit differently today because I am not into boring, same old presentations. You're kind of multitasking and you get a little bit out of it, but maybe not. My workshops are much more engaging, much more impactful because I start all of them off by mentioning a very fun fact. 98% of human beings cannot multitask. 98%. If you think you can, you may be a part of the 2%, but statistically speaking, you're not. I thought I was, I'm not. What we're actually doing is we're single tasking. We are stressing ourselves out. We are informing the fact, the statistic that 98% of human resources professionals are burned out. 98%. That's the latest statistic from WorkVivo, which is an increase from SHRM's statistic from 2022 that 86% of HR professionals are burned out. If you take one thing away from today, may it be you might want to start experimenting with single tasking. So I invite you right now for the next hour to give your brain a break, give your HRing a break, because chances are if you're over here answering emails, you're not giving your emails your full undivided attention. And same with this webinar, because I promise you this webinar is pretty big. There's a lot of information in here, especially if you've been teaching emotional intelligence or if you believe in emotional intelligence. There's actually an unknown prereq and it's called thought intelligence. We're going to get going. So I'm going to share my screen. And if Laura hasn't done so already, she already has, I think. We're going to be using give me one second. We're going to be using a software called Mentimeter. Go ahead and use the chat. Let's start practicing. Who has used Mentimeter? Either put yes or no in the chat, please. So I know that you're with me, you're here, you're alive, you're engaged, you're ready to start doing things differently in HR. Who's with me? Yes, you've used Mentimeter. No, you haven't used Mentimeter. I'm not seeing anything popping up in the chat. Is it just I'm seeing thumbs down. Haven't used it. Okay. All right. Well, Mentimeter, I am not paid by Mentimeter. Oh, I'm seeing so many thumbs. Okay, I know I'm not alone. By the way, just so you know, I cannot see you all. I can't see you, which is a little bit of a challenge for me, but that's okay. So I'm seeing most of these. Okay, a few people, most of these. Okay, super, super cool and user-friendly software. So if Laura, if you haven't done this already, you put it in the chat. So everybody go ahead and use the link in order to be able to actively participate in our webinar today. Thought intelligence. It's the unknown prereq to emotional intelligence. Here we go. How many years have you been in HR? Go ahead and use the link that Laura's provided and let us know how many years you have been in HR. Woo! 24, 18, 4, 15, 30. Holy moly. 1. Over 10. I love the over 10. I'm not going to tell you, right? It's over 10. I'm not going to date myself. We're not going with any ageism today. I love this. Whoa, 35. It's very rare that I'm beat. It's very rare when I give this workshop that somebody has more experience than me. And somebody does. I'm so happy to know I'm not the only person who's been in HR since the beginning of time. Okay, my point is this. No matter how many years of experience you have had in HR, you're in the right place today. It's never too soon or too late to understand the power of thought intelligence. Next question. Where are y'all calling in from? Where do you live? I live in Aspen, Colorado. We are about 4 hours west of Denver. Some people haven't heard of Aspen. I moved here 3 days after college, and I have been in HR ever since. So we've got Richmond, Virginia, Charlotte, San Fran. Ooh, we are coast to coast today. Look at this. Nashville, California, Virginia Beach, Goochland. I love this. We are from all over. So 27 sponsors so far. And by the way, if you are on this call, okay, and you're not able to get Mentimeter to work, it's okay. It's okay. Just stay as engaged as possible. I've definitely had some people say, I can't figure this whole Mentimeter thing out. It's okay. It's just really an engagement tool, but also to prove that no matter where we are in the United States, or maybe, I just led a global HR presentation to HR professionals all over the world through HRCI, and I had a global audience. It doesn't matter where you are. Thought intelligence is absolutely paramount in the HR field. Okay, I love seeing Nashville because I actually presented this exact presentation at the 2024 SHRM State Conference that was held in Memphis. So if you were there, person from Nashville, I welcome you back. And my sister went to Vanderbilt. So there you go. Okay. What was your very first thought this morning? I also love Mentimeter because it allows you to be really real without fearing judgment. Okay. Coffee, recruiting. What time is it? I need 5 more minutes. I don't want to get up. Y'all, this is what I hear from my HR clients time after time after time. Okay? Coffee. I need to keep scrolling here. The day the Lord has made. Love that. I actually had a near-death experience about 4 years ago. I was in the middle of the backcountry of Colorado. I was stung by wasps all over my body. This was during COVID. I happened to have been diagnosed as asthmatic for the first time in my life during COVID, and I had my inhaler with me. And when I finally made it to the ER about 5 hours later, I was not in anaphylactic shock. I was experiencing anaphylaxis, and they believe I did not die because I had my inhaler and it kept my lungs open. So that was a really pivotal moment in my life because I was absolutely burned out in HR. At that point, I was 46 years old and I was burned out. And as I was hiking out, puffing on my inhaler, I started praying to God. Now, whether you believe in the universe, whether you're an atheist, it doesn't matter, okay? Just know that whatever thought, whether you're very spiritual, whether you're very religious, whether you're atheist, it doesn't matter. Make sure your thoughts are very powerful and useful to you, okay? We're going to get into this today. I love this one. What am I wearing? What am I going to wear today? Okay, I don't want to get out of bed. I'm tired. I have a meeting. Crap. You turned off the alarm instead of snooze. Ew, morning already. I love doing this on a Monday. Mondays are my favorite days to do this workshop. Okay, I need to sleep more. What time is it? I want the day off. Thank you, God. Look at this. I love this. Okay. Why did I schedule my doctor's appointment so early? What do I have to do today? What's the temperature? How cold is it? We just had 7 days of below zero temperatures here in Colorado, so I can relate to that temperature for my walk. I need to get my sun up. Okay, here is my point of this very first question. Okay, more often than not, what I hear from HR professionals is, I'm exhausted. I don't have time. Maybe that's not your first thought in the morning. Maybe that thought comes up a little later in the day, right? I don't have time. I'm so busy. I'm not good at sticking to my boundaries. I'm feeling guilty for not doing more. Okay? Those types of thoughts are called disempowered thinking. So, who chooses our thoughts for us? Who chooses them? We do. We have the power to choose our thoughts. And I promise this relates to emotional intelligence. We're going to get in there. But if there's one other thing, in addition to realizing, 98% of humans can't multitask, maybe I'm not good at maybe I'm not a multitasker, maybe I should try this single tasking thing. That's one of your takeaways from today. This is your second one. The very first thought to improving your thought intelligence is noticing your thoughts, because you are generating your thoughts. Your situation, your spouse, your dog, your son, your early morning meeting, your doctor's appointment, whatever you have on task in HR, a reduction in force, a recruitment, hiring, new HRIS system, it doesn't matter. Your thoughts are your power move. Your thoughts inform your emotional intelligence. Let's do another question. Who, if you're being very honest with yourself, is your story on repeat that is disempowering? Let me explain this one really quickly. We all have a negativity bias, okay? Our brain is hardwired to look at things through a negative lens. It's what keeps us safe, right? It comes from the amygdala. It comes from the oldest part of the human brain. Here's what my story on repeat was from however early in my life until I was 45, until I understood the power of thought intelligence. My thought was, I'm not smart enough. I told myself that over and over again. It started with when I was going to speech therapy in the 2nd grade, diagnosed with a learning disability at the age of 7. Older sister goes to Vanderbilt, right? Valedictorian. I had a lot of compare and despair. She got like a 1,500 on the SAT. I didn't break 1,000. Okay. My lifelong story on repeat. I'm not smart enough. Right. It also sounded like I got to stay late at work. I have to put in extra hours because I don't get things right on the first go. I've got to work this weekend. I've got to get this open enrollment. I'm not ready for it. I've got to prepare, right? A lot of procrastinators, a lot of over preparers. It is just symptomatic that we have been telling ourselves a story on repeat for so long that we believe it to be true. And all it is a thought. Fear of failure. I love the all caps. You are cracking me up with the all caps. I never have enough time. I don't contribute enough to the company and teams as just HR. There isn't enough me for everyone. Overthinking. Oh my God. Okay. The overthinking one I love because yet I teach a course called HR Empower. It's HR Empower Hour. It's every Tuesday, like clockwork, 2:00 Eastern time. And yesterday, it was our workshop, our 69th workshop in a row. And it was on the uncertainty of certainty. With everything going on, regardless of your political affiliation, right? With the pausing of federal funds, it is impacting my HR clients all over the country. They don't know if the kids are going to be able to receive school lunches. So how does that impact, their kids, right? But also federal funding. I have a client who runs a nonprofit medical facility, which sounds a little weird. But she's like, I don't know if we have funds to keep this going. How crazy is that, right? So yesterday, as part of uncertainty, the certainty of uncertainty, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable in HR, we talked about the overs: overworking, over planning, over preparing, overthinking, and we even went into over drinking, overeating, a case of the overs. So if you want to get over your case of the overs, just shoot me an email at the end of this and I'll be able to send you a replay to yesterday's workshop. It was very powerful. Okay, and more stories on repeat. I can't go to the gym. I have to work too late. Too much work for one person. I don't have time. I'm not good enough for the things I have earned. I'm going to start tearing up. Oh, whoever said I am awesome, I love you, I want to meet you, I'm trying to become you. Okay, I can't be all things to all people. Big overthinker. There's another overing right there. I don't like reading. Low confidence to take the lead, even though when I do, I succeed. Right. So again, please hear me on this. You have done nothing wrong. It's just your negativity bias. Okay. That's all it is. It is coming up, and there's a way to override the negativity bias. We have to be cognizant. We have to start noticing our disempowered thoughts. That's number 2. I probably just went off on a tangent, but that's your second takeaway. Okay. Probably can't multitask. Probably should start single tasking. Here's your second one. Start noticing your thoughts. Are they useful or are they unuseful? Are they disempowering or are they empowering? Are they junk food or are they health food? The choice is truly yours. If you don't go anywhere above this, this could truly help you shift in HR out of disempowered thinking and into empowered thinking. This is what I help people do all day, every day of my life. Because the truth is, your thoughts are going to be true for you 100% of the time. Okay? Now, this isn't about toxic positivity. This is actually not about, hey, I've got a termination today at 4 o'clock, and that person's going to love me. And that's going to be a really great conversation. I'm going to enjoy it. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about thought upgrades. We're talking about empowered thinking. All right, let's go. Somebody's already diving in. What is the most powerful HR tool out there? Empathy. Who else has one? Listening. Oh my God, y'all. I just did I do a daily LinkedIn newsletter, and I totally admitted to being a horrible listener until I learned how to actively listen. I used to be a horrible listener. I love this. Listening to listen. Compassion, fear, documentation, adaptability, communication, brainstorming, right? I love the documentation answer. It's like classic HR. We must document. We have been told that for so long, right? That is something we've inherited through the decades of how we have learned HR from our predecessors. It's what Shern teaches us, right? We learn that document, document, document. I have another unknown before the documentation piece, but I love that because that is truly what we have been told to do in HR. Okay, so a lot of these answers are awesome, so on point, 100% correct. It's 100% correct for you. What I'd love for you to consider for the rest of this webinar is that your brain is your power tool. It's going to disempower you or it's going to empower you, right? We can't be patient without using our brain. We can't develop the skill of compassion. Compassion's a skill. It's not like you're born with it or you're not born with it. It's a skill. Problem solving. I love this one. Problem solving comes from our prefrontal cortex. It's a skill. And in fact, I do a lot of workshops on generational inclusivity. And they are saying what they're saying about Gen Z and even Alpha lacking problem solving. So as HR professionals, what are we doing with our learning and development curriculums to help those employees develop those problem solving skills, right? This is where generational inclusivity trainings are really, really important because we have to help our employees start developing the skills that they actually need. and skill development happens here. Okay. So as HR, we really need to understand this and we need to start applying it. So when we think about emotional intelligence, right, because this workshop is called Thought Intelligence, the Unknown Pre-Req to Emotional Intelligence, right here on this screen are the four main buckets of emotional intelligence. There's self-awareness, there's self-management, there's social awareness, there's social management. So which of these four areas is the most important to master? Take a guess. For you. When you think about, okay, I need more self-awareness, or I need to know how to emotionally regulate. Do I have the awareness or do I need to know how to regulate? Social awareness. Social awareness is, okay, how do I interact with the people around me? How do they interact with me? Also, right, when you think about crucial conversations, conflict management, how do other humans interact, right? Do they have the awareness? And then the social management piece is, how do people also emotionally regulate when in conversation with others? Okay, I love this. So I don't want to say it's a trick question, but there's no right or wrong answer, right? All of these elements are important. Matt's laughing. I love it. See, I'm telling you, it's so helpful for me to see Matt's face. Okay, they're all important, but my job here today is to show you and explain to you why thought intelligence informs all of these four main areas of what we classically teach as emotional intelligence in HR. Another question. Here we go. We're diving into self-awareness. This is the first bucket of emotional intelligence, right? So when you think of self-awareness tools, in my mind, I think about Enneagram, DISC, classic Myers-Briggs, predictive index. There are so many self-awareness tools out there. What is your favorite? What's your favorite? And if you have never used a self-awareness tool, totally okay, just put NA. Ooh, 16 personalities test with the explanation point. I love that. DISC, none, love Enneagram. People do. Myers-Briggs. I mean, y'all, I've been in HR since 1997. When I say Myers-Briggs, I mean, we are talking that was the tool, the only tool for a long time. I actually personally am most familiar with DISC. Journaling, I love that. Okay, birds, yes. Yeah, there's a lot of animal ones. 5 voices, voice order. Never heard that one. I love that. Okay, so no right or wrong. These are all amazing tools to help us increase our self-awareness. Okay, no right or wrong. And these are really, really great tools to bring into your organization or for us as HR practitioners to know so that we become more self-aware, right? Who includes, well, there's no way you're going to be able to answer this, but you probably include these types of tools in your learning development curriculum, right? Very, very common. This is all a part of emotional intelligence. My question for you is, do you include thought work in your learning and development program? Do you teach your employees the power of their brain? Do you teach your employees kind of what we just went through, that their amygdala is generating those disempowered thoughts like, I'm not ready for this meeting. I don't know how to talk to my new boss. What if we don't hire the right person for the team? I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed. I don't have enough time. I'm too busy. Those are just thoughts. And when we continue to choose those thoughts, that's going to inform how we feel, how we behave, and the results of the organization. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. Our thoughts inform our feelings inform our behaviors, and our behaviors inform our results. So actually including thought work in our learning and development program is really crucial. Just helping our employees shift out of disempowered thinking and into empowered thinking by teaching our employees how to use their prefrontal cortex. We're not going to be able to get into the details of this today, but I just submit this for your consideration. Think about it. If you're using DISC, right? So we have, let's see if I can do this. Oh gosh, dominant, influence, steadfast. Oh, the C is about detail, conscientiousness. Okay, with DISC. Whew, thank God I remembered those. Okay. So with DISC, Where is the like it just talks about, okay, you're a dominant personality and how do you interact with an influencer? Those are people who are highly driven, they work very quickly versus your steadfast and your conscientious employees who work much more slowly. DISC does not get into the thoughts that inform those behaviors and how we show up in the workplace. So if you really want to help employees with their self-awareness, DISC is a great tool for sure. But in order for us to understand those behavioral actions in the workplace, what informs those actions are our thoughts. So actually bringing thought work into the workplace, maybe it's a little too far for some people on the call, but actually mastering your own thought intelligence can really help you stress less in HR and can help you show up as an empowered HR person. Okay, here's a solid example of this. I have a client who I was working with last week, and she was saying, okay, I did the thing, Kath. I actually sent that email expressing why my review that I had in December was unfair, why I feel as though I should have gotten the highest mark, all of the evidence of what I had accomplished during the year. I sent the email, but Kath, he hasn't gotten back to me. My boss always gets back to me right away. I'm in trouble. I'm getting fired. I never should have sent it. You see what my client was doing? Choosing disempowered thoughts that weren't even based on fact. They're not even fact-based. Turns out, boss was with the kid. Boss was out of the office. My client spun out in disempowered thinking, right? Spun out. I was able to help that client calm down, right? And notice those disempowered thoughts that weren't based on fact. So we were able to get her to a state of neutral, like, okay, we're in a little bit of a waiting zone. We don't know what's happening with my boss, right? So just a very low-hanging fruit, easy example to showcase why thought intelligence really is the unknown and the precursor to emotional intelligence, right? It's super, super important as to really bring that unknown into the known. All right, here we go. Here we go with some self-management. So what trainings do you offer under self-management? Self-management's, in short, emotional regulation. How do you help, so with yourself, right? Let's go back to our first thoughts this morning, okay? I don't want to get up. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I have so much to do. I don't know what to start on first, those types of things. How do you actually manage that, right? How do you manage those emotions that come up? How do you manage that? Asana. I love that. Yeah, a lot of what I hear often is journaling, yoga, meditation, running, working out. Yeah. Online research, reading, certain things that calm us down, get us back to homeostasis, get us back to that calm state. Some sort of a creative outlet. Oh, I love all of this. I love all of this. Remember my why. Sounds like we've got a Simon Sinek fan in the house. Simon Sinek's done a lot of publishing, a lot of research on the why. End of 2024, early 2025, I guess it's only been a couple weeks, can't believe that. I led an entire workshop called Thrive in 25 based on Simon Sinek's work on the why, which is really cool. So I love seeing that up there. Read my Bible and talk to God. Love that. By getting things done, right? Like how many of us, if you're a high achiever like I am, it's like, I just got to start diving in, right? So just start getting things done. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to keep up with all. I love all of these. One thing that I never understood until I went to coaching school, these are all great outlets. There's an additional modality that you consider. I call it thought upgrades, right? So noticing when we're having those disempowered thoughts and not to swing all the way over here to toxic positivity, right? It's just a matter of noticing those thoughts that aren't serving us, right? And doing just a little bit of a thought upgrade. So it might sound like, I'm exhausted. But what if you just upgraded that thought from I'm exhausted to I'm exhausted unless and then you fill in the blank. I'm exhausted unless I get out of bed and get that cup of coffee. We're not talking about, oh my God, I feel so great when you don't feel great. What's going to shift that emotional experience of feeling tired is your thought. That is your power card to finally experience energy and empowerment in HR. Love the walk outside one. I love that. So, in addition to a lot of the classic ways to conduct emotional regulation for ourselves in order to manage ourselves. Again, what I submit for your consideration is doing thought work, truly noticing those disempowered thoughts and starting to slowly choose more empowered thoughts over and over again. But here's the crazy thought part. We have 70,000 thoughts a day. 70,000, right? So if that feels overwhelming, it may, but what if you were able to slowly over time start to shift into more empowered thinking? Just doing that through thought upgrades. There's something called neuroplasticity. I know we've been using Mentimeter, but let's use the chat. Who's heard of neuroplasticity? Give me a thumbs up if you have, thumbs down if you haven't. Yeah, thumbs up. I have a really great, okay, so everyone's familiar with this. So the brain is plastic, right? Those old adages of I'm too old to change, can't teach an old dog new tricks, that's BS. That has been proven to be false, okay? We can upgrade our thoughts. We can improve our behavior. We can improve our results, all the things. And we do this through thought upgrades, okay? So let's keep going. Here we go. Do you, this is such a like buzzy term right now. You know, people are throwing out toxic workplaces. We used to call them, oh gosh, what were they called in HR when I first started? Hostile work environment. Now we call them, right, toxic workplaces. I hear often people talk about being triggered in the workplace. I hear often my boss is a narcissist, my colleague's a narcissist, my dad's a narcissist, all those things. We do so much labeling when honestly, we don't even necessarily know what those labels mean. We throw them out there, and oftentimes those labels are very disempowering. So, do we meet people? Do you meet people where they are, right? This is the third element of emotional intelligence, social awareness, right? So the classic definition of social awareness is our ability to recognize and understand the emotions and needs of others. What we have been taught under this bucket of emotional intelligence is reading social cues from other people. Okay? We say things like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? What I think about the social awareness, the way it's been taught, is it's kind of BS. Because when we think about the other person, we're doing it through our own eyes. We're doing it through our own experiences. We are making a lot of assumptions. Again, going back to the classic definition of social awareness, right? We're supposed to be reading people's body language. Are they sitting back? Are the arms crossed? Are they defensive in that pip that we're having with them? Or are they just cold? Social cues, reading social cues, we do that through past experience if we've had with that person, right? Or just social norms. But that social awareness piece is done through our own lens, and that's where we go wrong. Where all humans go wrong, but particularly in HR. We have a tendency to do a lot more telling in HR than asking. Here's what I mean by that. Well, let me give you just a little bit of a different upgrade. Instead of saying, how are you feeling right now? What if you started asking somebody, or how are you doing? How's your day? Like that's what I call low quality questions, LQQs. There are high quality questions that we can be asking that generate a more thoughtful, true response for the employee. Like when we say, how was your weekend? It's low-hanging fruit. We get a very generic answer. How you doing? How you doing? It comes out of all of our mouths, right? It's a social norm. Getting back to the social awareness piece. This is so how are you doing? I'm fine. Fine's a 4-letter word. I'm fine. If we really want to human resource, if we want to do more HRing, I use it as a verb. If we want to HR in a much more empowered way, we have to start asking HQQs, high quality questions, which sounds like this. What are you most looking forward to doing at work this week? What was the best part of yesterday at work? Those are high quality questions that don't get you the proverbial social norm answer. We must start getting to know our employees on a much deeper level, and that comes from knowing and learning how to ask HQQs, high quality questions. So here's another little bit of an upgrade, right? Instead of asking our employees, how you feeling? How are you doing? Check this one out. What are you thinking right now? What are the thoughts going through your mind? Now, this does require true curiosity, true compassion, true empathy. Those are all skills. When we're coming from judgment, what are you thinking right now, right? When we're judging somebody, it's going to be in our incantation, it's going to be in our intonation. As HR professionals, if we truly want to develop social awareness, we have to recognize when we're making assumptions and really take a step back and truly get curious about the other person. Truly get curious, right? There's an art to calling people in versus calling people out. And I actually have a very specific method. It's called the ethos method, where I help my clients really develop that skill of curiosity and get to know employees on a much deeper level. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's see where we get today. By the way, based on interaction, based on what's populated in Mentimeter, sometimes I get through the entire webinar, all the slides, sometimes I don't. It just depends on how things are flowing. So let's get to the fourth bucket under emotional intelligence, social management, right? This is the final area that talks about using your awareness of emotions to navigate social interactions effectively. So think about what trainings you personally, your organization, offers under social management. Usually it's something like, conflict resolution, or I'm trying to think, I just worked in the public sector before I started my consulting business. We always had the police department come in and do, I can't remember what it's called. Oh my gosh, what is it called? Let's see. De-escalation training. Thank you for saving me out there. Yes, de-escalation training. I love that. So what types of trainings are you currently offering? Courageous conversations. I love that. Nice upgrade. Communication, active listening. We're not offering any. Okay. No right or wrong, good or bad. Some people on this call are Department of One. I get it. I was a Department of One for about a quarter of my career. Some people on this call global HR. I was global HR. I took an Intermountain West organization based in Aspen. I took them global, and I was there for 12 years, right? So I turned into this global HR person, okay? I've worked in public sector. I've worked in private sector. It does not matter. Your answer is right for you, right? Don't beat yourself up if you're writing, we don't offer any, or we need to offer training. I promise you, you're doing the best you can with the resources you have. And you're exactly where you need to be today. Okay. So I love this trauma-informed training. Oh, that's so good. I'm going to pause on the trauma. I often hear with my clients that they're dealing with employees who are feeling triggered, right? We hear this a lot in the workplace. I'm being triggered by my boss. I was triggered before I got into work. Disempowered thinking believes that triggers are bad. We need to avoid our triggers. Empowered thought leaders in HR know that triggers are good, that we should welcome triggers. We should actually say thank you to those triggers because it means we still have work to do. If you're being triggered and you're in a disempowered state, a deficit state with your thoughts, you're going to stay swirling in those negative emotions, those negative thoughts, those negative behaviors, and those negative results. Versus when we say, there's my trigger again, right? My boss just said something to me that triggered me. Maybe he said, I'll use one of the phrases that my former boss used to say to me all the time, you're a strong personality. Your strong personality. It was one of his favorite things to say, and not just to me, but to a lot of women in the organization. Classic microaggression, right? Your strong personality. If that were to trigger me, it just means I have work to do, right? I have either conscious or subconscious thoughts around that he's correct, that I'm a strong personality and it's a bad thing. But what if he were to say to me, okay, you're a strong personality. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. That's the world's best compliment. What are we making things mean in HR? I'm going to say that again. Some people think strong personality is a compliment. Some people, like me, thought it was the rudest thing I'd ever heard in my entire life. Okay? That's because I had a disempowered thought pattern versus an empowered thought pattern, because I believed what he said was true and negative and defamatory and keeping women down, all the things, right? What I was making it mean, my thoughts around the phrase strong personality. Going back a little bit, going back to the previous slide, okay, about actually this could work under social management too. We need to be asking the other people involved, kind of going back to courageous conversations, kind of going back to communication, all related. We need to be having those conversations, but it's the thoughts we are having that are either going to prevent us from even getting to the start line to have those courageous conversations, or we're going to choose thoughts that allow us to engage in those courageous conversations. Does that make sense? Your thoughts are either going to hold you back or they're going to propel you forward. They're going to disempower you or they're going to empower you. Again, they're either going to be junk food or health food. And we need to understand our thoughts so that we can absolutely start to not only provide de-escalation training, but apply it. To actually start to actively listen, we have to understand if our thoughts are allowing us to do that or not. If we're truly listening to want to hear what the person is saying, or if we're listening with preconceived notions. We're not truly listening. We're doing level 2 listening versus level 1 listening, right? Our thoughts matter 100% of the time. And that's where the power move is. So here is more sort of self-management, kind of going back to that second bucket, right? This is the second bucket under emotional intelligence. There's self-awareness is the first one, then self-management. And I apologize, I have never been able to figure out how to get this slide to look correct. So it's a little bit of hilarity involved in here. When you think about your skill you need to work on most, these are all skills. Which one do you need to work on? I see confidence a lot in HR, right? Imposter syndrome. I do an entire month-long series on imposter syndrome for my HR clients. Confidence comes up a lot. Yes. Resiliency, active listening. Yeah. Advocacy, compassion. I love this. Yes. My number one was curiosity, and I didn't even know it. There's no right or wrong. You know yourself best. So what I want you to do today, ultimately, when we get to this part of it, is to figure out what skill you need to work on most, and then put a system in place to start to work on that skill. No right or wrong. Mine was curiosity. I was probably the most judgmental person on the planet. I have really had to start working on my skill of curiosity because I had a tendency in HR to tell people why they needed to show up to work on time, right? I would advise people, here's what I would do. You know, that manager who's a micromanager, here's what I've seen work for other employees. Here's what I would do. Here's how I've seen other people show up, right? Or work best with that person. That's called advising and directing. And coaching's totally different. Coaching comes from the skill of curiosity. It sounds more like this. Okay, well, what have you tried? Tell me what you have tried with this micromanager. And tell me what you want to try next. Tell me what you want to experiment with next to achieve X, Y, and Z, right? So that skill of curiosity as an HR person allows for autonomy and allows for the employee to be empowered. Because when we do a lot more directing and advising in HR, like here's how I would do it, we unknowingly take away the employee's autonomy, their ability to problem solve, but we take away their confidence and we don't even know we're doing it. We are taking away the employee's confidence to be able to learn how to problem solve. Wild, right? We don't even know we're doing it. We're so well intentioned in HR, but we just don't understand that by going about HR in a very traditional way of advising versus coaching, it's taking the employee's confidence away. And by the way, maybe it works in the short term, but it doesn't work in the long term. 9 times out of 10. It's the difference between motivation and inspiration. Okay? Motivation gets us so far. What we need to do is understand how to inspire ourselves and how to inspire other employees. Motivation sounds like you really need to get to work on time. I want to help you with that. You need to get here on time so we don't have to let you go. That's going to motivate the employee to a certain extent, but inspiring the employee, helping them build their confidence, helping them build their resiliency, using our active listening, being adaptable, is about coaching them in a way to come up with their own solution to why they're not showing up to work on time. So it sounds something like this. Okay, tell me why it's important for you to show up to work on time. That's using your skill of curiosity. That's setting your employee up to build their own confidence by being compassionate, by helping advocate for them, by helping them develop resiliency because you're actively listening and you're teaching adaptability. Now, I know the question was all about you, but I just wanted to go into a little bit more detail on that. So don't answer this about your boss, okay? I know that's what the question says to do, but think about the person you are struggling with most in your life, okay? I don't care if it's work, I don't care if it's at home, whoever you are, whatever situation is taking up the most mental bandwidth, what skill do they need? Yeah, I love this. Oh my gosh, this is so interesting. It's different than our self-reflection. So interesting. They need to be more compassionate. They need to learn how to listen. They need more adaptability, right? All of these skills, the premise, the unknown is the thought work. And oftentimes in our learning and development programs, if we are so, I don't want to say lucky because it's not luck. If we are working for an organization currently that has the support for learning and development, right? Chances are we're doing things like DISC, we're doing things which are great. These are great things, but we're not actually teaching our employees the skills of curiosity, confidence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the thing about skill development. We have to allow the space and the time for people to practice. And we generally don't do that in organizations. And we don't get down to these fundamentals of what I call essential leadership skills. I call them ELS. If we don't have these, how are we going to be able to select the right HRIS system? If we don't have the skill of confidence, we even need the skill of curiosity, right? We've got to be able to go out to all the different platforms out there and be truly curious about what they're offering. We have to have that skill of at last asking high-level questions. Totally next level of HR. So I know right now we've got 11 minutes left. Here's an interesting one. I want to end on this. I want to present something for us to continue to work on, but I absolutely want to make sure we have time for Q&A. And if we don't, we can come back to some of this stuff. How many minutes do you think the brain feels an emotion? That fear, right? That excitement. How long does the brain feel that emotion? Take a guess. Oh, this is an interesting slide. It's not how I thought it was going to come up. Okay, looks like not surprised to see this, right? Is it 100 minutes? Is it no minutes? Like, what's the brain's involvement in this, right? There is a neuroscientist out of Harvard. Her name is Dr. Jill Taylor. Look her up. Fascinating work and research she's done. So many neuroscientists, behavioral scientists, positive psychologists out there are using her work because she has proven that it takes 90 seconds for a brain to feel an emotion. So going back to this slide, 90 seconds is how long you will literally stay in fight or flight. Now, there's fawn, there's freeze. Fawn is the new one. A lot of people haven't heard of fawn, but 90 seconds is how long your body, you're just going to feel that emotion. You're not going to have any control over it. Same with your employees. Here's the TQ part, the thought intelligence part that you must understand as an HR professional for yourself, but for working with employees in your organization, whether it's your boss, your colleagues, your subordinates, it doesn't matter. After those 90 seconds, when let's just say you're in fight or flight, okay, something has happened, you have been triggered, allow yourself those 90 seconds because you're not going to be able to do anything about it. Your brain is just going to do what your brain's going to do. It's after those 90 seconds, the thoughts we choose are going to throw us into a disempowered state or an empowered state. Your thoughts are everything. Now, you must understand this because let's say an employee is just, I'm going to use like a Gen X term. An employee is wigging out. They are just wigging out. They've walked in your office. They are wigging out. Nothing you say or do, nothing they do or say will get them out of those 90 seconds of fight, flight, fear, or fawn, right? Nothing. But after those 90 seconds, it's the thoughts they choose that are going to keep them swirling or get them into an empowered state. This has been proven by a neuroscientist at Harvard. And it's wild research. And so many of my clients are like, oh my God, I get that. Like, I get that, okay, I just had an employee come in, and are they going to continue to circle the drain? And I need to be able to understand what thoughts they're choosing that they're circling the drain, or it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm in HR, that happened back at the public works department. That whole situation happened, about 10 minutes ago. What am I going to do now? What thoughts am I choosing now? Am I safe? Am I going to have a conversation? What am I going to do? How am I going to move forward? And in HR, sometimes we lead conversations in a way that really enables and indulges the employee in disempowered thinking. We don't even know that we're doing it, right? So we have to see this in ourselves. We have to recognize this in others as well. And we are not going to have time for the ethos method, which is how I help employees, how I help my clients and myself kind of switch out of disempowered thinking and into empowered thinking. We're going to have to save that for another time because we are out of time. And I have to stop talking because I'm starting to go hoarse. So, Matt, Laura, questions. Has anything popped up so far?
I do have a couple questions to run through
Yes,
first, and then give some time for some others to
I
add some
love it.
additional ones. But first one, are there any books or other sources of information you'd recommend to help someone develop their own thought intelligence?
Yes. There is a book. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember her last name. There is a book, and it includes the F word. How to un-F your brain. And I'm not going to remember on beep 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 your brain. Oh, okay. Just Google it. It's going to pop up. It really, really helped me. However many years ago I started diving into this work, really understand the difference between disempowered thinking and empowered thinking. Another one is the Untethered Soul. And I just did a typo, but Untethered Soul. Two great books for starters.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this. I know artificial intelligence, massive thing going on
Oh
in
my
today's
God.
what is your opinion on thought intelligence and the role that AI will play into that?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. Um, I guess, gosh, I'm about to do a political move here and sort of answer it in my own special way. I personally do use ChatGPT. I use it, as Brene Brown would say, um, your shitty first draft, your SFD. I use it all the time to come up with a draft. But I've heard that AI can do this. That AI can help us. It can actually speak in our own voice. I haven't worked with it to that extent. I think AI can be a very, very powerful tool for HR, Department of Ones, right? What AI cannot do, because the information, I believe this is correct, it hasn't been updated since April 2024. Like there's a lag time, right? So if you put in what was President Trump's executive order on MLK Day that influenced DEI federally, it's not going to have that answer. So you can't necessarily use it for fact. I do think it can help HR practitioners. I mean, I struggle a little bit because I think that we may start relying more on not using our thought intelligence. We may start relying more heavily on AI. So I grapple with that a little bit, especially as it relates to thought intelligence. I think AI is not going to be able to help you first thing in the morning when that thought comes up of, I'm exhausted. I don't want to go to work today. I mean, maybe you're going to have your computer right next to you, but I think the power of being able to shift your own thoughts is truly the biggest power move we have in HR.
100%. I love that. And I got two more for you from the
Let's
chat.
go.
Okay. So
Love
one
it.
of those being, what was the name of the neuroscientist that you mentioned from Harvard?
Yep. Dr. Jill Taylor, Jilltaylor. Her work is, it really helped me understand myself, but it really helps me, especially like now that I coach clients, right? I coach individual clients as part of my business, but I also teach something called the HR coach approach every single Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern. And it helps me when somebody gets on and they are spinning out about something that happened at work. Like I know I can't help them right away. I have to wait, I have to pause, and then I have to start helping them shift out of disempowered thinking into empowered thinking after those 90 seconds. It's wild.
Awesome. One last one for you, Catherine.
Yes.
So how do you get employees to choose empowered thoughts?
By asking them questions and not telling. By asking them, just like in the very beginning, when we started going through the process of noticing our own thoughts, we have to be able to ask high quality questions, HQ, I call them HQQs, in order to get the employee to start noticing their own thoughts. It takes practice, it takes time, but it's possible. And obviously, there's a lot of skills related to that. It's the skill of curiosity, it's the skill of compassion, it's the skill of empathy, the skill of assertion, the skill of asking those high level questions. So there's a lot involved in it. However, I really do believe that when we come from a truly caring, curious place, using that skill of curiosity, it breaks down so many barriers. It's the antidote to judgment. It's the antidote to your amygdala that's probably constantly barking and screaming at you.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions that I think we've gotten
Awesome.
through the chat. Thank you for joining us today, Catherine. I know I learned a ton, and I'm sure that I can speak for everyone who
I'm
joined
so
today.
glad.
But I know that Laura added a couple more pieces of information here in the chat for everybody to check out. Definitely don't hesitate to connect with Catherine. I'm sure she'd love to elaborate on some more things that she's mentioned today.
Yep.
But other than that, I appreciate you guys joining. And Catherine, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love Dominion Payroll. I'm so happy to be here, and I appreciate everybody's time today. Just remember, notice those thoughts and start doing thought upgrades. And if you have no idea how to do that, shoot me an email. It's like my to-do list. I use my email as my to-do list, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you, Matt. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone.